What are you gonna do?
My screen free.
Oh, the window.
Your mic or something?
Didn't even know I had one. He just turned my volume down.
Hmm? Yeah, well, that's his.
I can see.
All right, good. You ready? Ready? I'd like to call this meeting to order, a regular meeting of the Plan Commission on Monday, June 10th at 6:30 PM in the Germantown Village Hall Boardroom, and also can be accessed via WebEx. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with sections 19.83 and 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call shows all commissioners present except for Mr. Shadid, who is excused, and Mr. Williams, who may be joining us shortly, and Mr. Lord, who may be joining us shortly as well. I would also like to welcome to this month's meeting Jordan Yankee, who is Associate Planner. Is that the official title? I don't want to get it wrong. And also Deb Rymix, which is filling in for, not filling in, but replacing Lori Johnson, who is now retired. So welcome both of you to tonight's meeting. You're welcome. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes from the May 13th, 2024 meeting.
Make a motion to approve as presented. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? Yes, Ms. Henk.
There is a slight error in the line item for all of the voting. It should be Bridget Henk, not Hank Bridget. Could get that edited.
So it'd be your recommendation to change it from Hank Bridget to Bridget Hank. Any other further discussion on the motion to approve the minutes with, should we make an amendment to change it?
I'll make an amendment to change the minutes of the meeting to reflect the commissioner's correct name.
All right, do I have a second? Second. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Back to the motion as amended. Any further discussion on the approval of minutes as amended? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. That then takes us to new business, and we start new business with item A, Mark Brooks, agent for Das Barrel Room Tavern and Grill and Doctors LLC, property owners of West 201 North 10466 Appleton Avenue, site plan review of a 14-stall off-site parking lot expansion on tonight's agenda for action, and it was tabled from the October 9th, 2023 and March 11th, 2024 Plan Commission meeting. To give us some more background information on this new business item, we'll turn the meeting over to our Community Development Director, Jeff Retzela.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As most of you are aware, Mark Brooks, operator of Das Barrel Room and agent for the property owner, Doctors LLC, is requesting approval for site plan for a expanded off-site parking area associated with the Das Barrel Room business operation on Appleton Avenue. Doctors LLC owns two parcels on screen to the left, to the north, if you will. A 0.9 acre parcel, it's own B1 neighborhood business. It contains an existing restaurant, bar, and parking area. A 2.1 acre parcel lies to the east, to the right on the screen. It's vacant, except for a small paved parking area adjacent to Appleton Avenue. It's owned B3 general business. Back in 2019, Mr. Brooks obtained a conditional use permit from the village that allows him to use the adjoining paved parking area on the 2.1 acre parcel as part of his business operation. Condition 1 effectively allows that use. Condition 3 in that conditional use permit requires any expansion of the parking lot to obtain an amendment to the conditional use permit and site plan approval from the Plan Commission. The image on the screen is of the sites prior to May of 2023. And we know that sometime in May of 2023, the operator brought some gravel onto the site without obtaining the proper permits and approval under the conditional use permit. And so a code violation notice was issued, and the operator and the owner were given a couple of options to remove the gravel, restore the site, and prohibit parking beyond the 4,800 square feet of paved parking that was permitted under the conditional use permit, or apply for a conditional use permit amendment with the intention of trying to get the board to approve an expansion of the off-site parking area under that conditional use permit. In October of 2023, Plan Commission first reviewed a conditional use permit amendment request by Mr. Brooks. His request was to allow the continued use of the 4,800 square foot off-site paved parking area, which is highlighted in black on the screen, allow the expansion of that off-site parking area by allowing the gravel that was already brought in to remain, estimated to be just over 7,000 square feet. That's highlighted in red, and allow an additional gravel parking area, approximately 2,500 square feet, shown in blue. At the time, the Plan Commission discussed this proposal with Mr. Brooks and tabled action pending the submittal of code compliant and engineered site plans for whatever parking area that was proposed for the off-site CUP amendment. In March of this year, in consideration of that CUP amendment, Mr. Brooks submitted engineered plans. He had hired an engineer and a surveyor to prepare site survey and existing conditions plans and engineered site plans for the site, including 2 parking lot options. Option 1 was to reduce the size of the gravel that had been deposited on the site, relocate it outside of a 75-foot navigable stream setback from Willow Creek and outside the 25-foot setback from the wetland area associated with Willow Creek, reduce it to a size just under 5,000 square feet that would provide an additional 12 to 14 parking stalls as highlighted in red on the screen. Option 2 was to reconstruct the existing 4,800 square feet, which was a requirement of the CUP if the area was to be expanded, and redesign the parking area to meet zoning code setbacks and stormwater management requirements. In the course of reviewing those alternatives, it was decided to keep whatever parking area that was proposed under 5,000 square feet so as to not exceed stormwater management requirements that might trigger the need for either green infrastructure improvements on the site or more significant stormwater facilities on the property. Option 2 was a code compliant paved parking area that unfortunately only provided 14 total stalls, a net decrease from what had been previously provided by the original 4,800 square feet of pavement. So at the March meeting, the Plan Commission recommended an alternative, a combination, to approve the CUP amendment to allow off-site parking expansion, and to approve option 1 with 3 conditions: that the gravel area actually be paved to be compliant with the zoning code, that a 10-foot wide buffer designed to filter stormwater runoff from both the existing and new parking areas be installed around the perimeter and along the connecting driveway between the 2 parking areas, and also install a barrier around the perimeter of the parking areas to prohibit parking beyond the 2 paved parking areas that were approved under the CUP. The village board approved the Plan Commission recommendation and amended the CUP soon thereafter. And so we're here tonight to review the finely tuned option one site plan that does show the paved parking with 14 parking stalls on the new area that's highlighted in around the green area. The vegetated buffer is shown around the perimeter. And the barrier that's proposed is a post and rope barrier fence that would be installed around the perimeter of the new parking area. 4x4 posts, 3 feet out of the ground, and with a 1-inch diameter rope linking the posts. The proposal is for the posts to be spaced at 10 feet. As you'll see in the staff recommendation, the recommendation is to reduce that to 6 feet. But with that, the staff recommendation is to approve the site plan for the revised option one, subject to 4 conditions that we can go over as necessary. Mark Brooks is here with his engineer and surveyor. If you have specific questions you want to ask, or Mark, is there anything you want to add at this point? No. So with that, again, the staff recommendation is to approve the site plan with 4 conditions.
All right, thank you. Commissioners,
I will make a motion to approve as presented for discussion.
motion made. Do I have a second? Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Trustee Baum.
So at the last village board meeting, this project, the liquor license is coming into question. Well, how are we handling all of this? Do we table this another week, another period to get the village board stuff resolved? Or are we moving this forward and this can move forward without interrupting the village board issues?
Well, they are 2 separate issues, albeit tied together with the Das Bellroom operation. I have not received a request from Mr. Brooks to table action or continue it or even withdraw it in light of what the board is pursuing. I guess it was up to the plan commission if they feel it's necessary to table this for some reason, but obviously, if it's approved, it could be with a additional condition subject to the business remaining in operation and the parking being required or some other wording that you
Okay.
may see fit.
So we need to address it if we want to. Okay. What I have learned over the past few weeks is that while we've solved the problem of people parking out on the grass by putting this rope barrier around, we've just moved the problem somewhere else. People are now parking across the street and we don't have conditional use approval for that off-site parking. And they're parking in the grass over there now. So how are we going to resolve that?
Yes, I listened to the commentary that was provided at the village board meeting, and one of the commenters stated that because staff had requested Mark to rope off this proposed parking area pending the outcome of the approvals, there was no additional area to park, and so parking was being directed to across the street to the BP gas station. I don't know. My guess is that this paved parking area, if it's approved and it's constructed and it's open, it's not necessarily going to provide all the parking necessary to meet the demand from event to event to event. It might for some, it might not for others, depending upon the popularity and all that goes into the amount of patrons that come to the business for whatever music event happens to be that particular weekend or night during the week.
And for this commission, that is the problem that we have oversight on is there enough parking for this? It seems like we've solved the problem for interior events. It's when we go to the outdoor events that there's no parking for the outdoor space.
Right, and we don't have a specific parking guideline for this particular type of operation.
And how do we come up with that? How much we don't know how many people we don't know how big the space is where they're having people outside. We don't know how often it is. I assume it's every weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. How many people are gonna be out there? How many more cars do they need? Is the space even across the street large enough? Do we have to expand the conditional use to include across the street?
I would venture a guess that we probably will have to require the CUP to be amended again to provide for parking on the BP gas station.
Why?
If it were to continue on a regular basis, then that would be effectively the same route we would have to take as we did with this parking area
Hmm.
back in 2019. And of course, that process, we would be evaluating, issues like safety, because people would be required to cross the state highway. That was brought up as an issue.
And this is going to come to a head at the village board meeting. So I'm just bringing it up now to start people thinking about it. What are we going to do? Where are we going to go with this?
Right. Well, unless and until we have a specific standard that requires a certain number of stalls for a certain type of operation with this kind of seasonal business in mind, how many stalls we require and either on-site or off-site, we'll have to try and come up with some sort of a number. And it may require Mr. Brooks keeping track in some way of the vehicles that are parked on the property across the street, doing effectively some sort of parking demand study to show, what the demand actually is from weekend to weekend, event to event, as a condition of keeping the conditional use permit.
So how do we get that started? How do we move forward with trying to figure out what the right parking situation is out here?
Well, that's a good question.
Because we're now parking on side streets and across the street and in the grass across the street. We want to solve the problem. Why don't we just create an ordinance that allows them to park on his grass? But then people are getting stuck and people are getting in the mud and all that stuff.
Right, and the issue, another issue is what we brought up initially back in March, as is reflected here, the willingness of the operator and the owner to only build as much parking as they're willing to pay for, short of having to do some stormwater management plan and possibly provide on-site stormwater management facilities. So I'm curious to see what the board action is going to take. Is it the board or is it the public safety committee that's going to be ultimately taking that action?
Both. The board is the one that's taking action now, but the public safety it'll probably be pushed.
So
to
they'll
public
send it
safety
back
at
to
some-
public safety. And I know there's a provision in the liquor licensing provision, I think it's chapter 12, that allows for some regulation of outdoor entertainment. And maybe that's the avenue through which the public safety committee and the board start to address the issue of parking and number of patrons, as well as the issue with sound.
So how the business operation of this is going to come into question. How many people are going to be outside? How often are you outside? Where do these people park? What's the sound issue? What are the hours of operation of that? All that's going to start coming forward. So at some point we have to address it.
Right, but in future meetings, you're changing zoning code for future meetings in regards to sounds, number of cars and all of that. I'm somewhat confused as to how it affects the conditional use, as to the reason we created the off-site parking was when the business owned both properties that weren't contiguous. So we allowed that with Gales because they had parking that was across the street and not contiguous to their other parking. So we created that ordinance to help resolve that off-site parking. So it really didn't deal with business that you don't own. It had to deal with property that you owned or or had an agreement with, which the Dos Barrel Room does with the one next door. But they don't own the one across the street. That's more of a handshake agreement, I'm sure they have with the BP owner. So I don't know if our current ordinance covers that, and that's really a question for the attorney. I think what's starting to happen here, and I don't disagree with the need to resolve those, but you're ballooning this issue as part of that, and those aren't even ordinances or in any type of place to approve them at this time. So to tie this parking lot and how it's out of compliance to those future possibilities, I don't think that's a right direction.
It's not, it's probably not fully for discussion here tonight, but I'm only bringing it up to discuss that it's going to be a problem at some point. Tonight, we don't have that full discussion available.
That's
Right.
correct.
I do believe that through chapter 12, that the committee and the board have the ability to further regulate not only the sound level and the parking through that entertainment, outside entertainment provision in the code. And if in fact, board pursues that and the plan commission recommends that we start initiating some sort of revision to the parking regulations that tries to address these seasonal outdoor entertainment type businesses, we can pursue those things and start working on that.
Yeah, I think it's a good direction to go because it seems to be becoming more of an issue than less of an issue.
I mean, if in fact, in the next couple of months, we adopt some new standard in our parking regulations that requires a certain number of parking stalls for a certain size outdoor operation, and this business doesn't provide the number of stalls required for its operation, building only 5,000 square feet may be a limiting factor on the number of patrons.
So just
And I don't know how that all ripples through, parking stalls, one car per stall, but number of people per car can vary dramatically. So how we come
driving
up with
scenario.
something that deals with that is going to be difficult.
And, thinking about this and try to put myself in the business owner's shoes of it, for me, I'd be looking at possibilities of, from this business down the street, there's a parking right. So why couldn't they park there and run a shuttle, and the cost that you have to offset your music could be accommodated with an additional fee to cover a shuttle? That's how I think, but this is not my business. So if that would be an option, we wouldn't have ordinances that could cover that, nor would we. I mean, it's really more of an open parking lot that could be used to offload this. I mean, a good perfect example of that is what they do for the hospital. For a while, they were using at Community Memorial a section of the lot at Village Bowl, and they would shuttle their workers into that. This would be a similar scenario for these types of events, because to put a condition on a business that's more seasonal and have to carry that when it's not in season, I mean, that really becomes a very finite ordinance in regards to when you stop it and when you start it and how it flexes and flexes back. That seems to get pretty long in regards to how you have to write it.
Right, it could get very complicated too.
Mhm.
But you're right, with respect to the off-site parking regulations, there is an allowance for off-site parking areas within 1,000 feet of a business to enter into an agreement. And they don't have to be owned by the same property owner. There could be two different property owners, but we would need to see a formal agreement when there's different property owners involved. And then we would have to evaluate the other parking lot for its adequacy. And, we're not going to just say, yeah, just go ahead and park on the BP, pavement, grass, or otherwise. It'll be a similar situation with this 2.1 acre parcel.
And you would tie it to a conditional use based on that?
Yes.
Okay.
So, the other property owner gets involved as well. Now, granted, they probably have some paved parking that's certainly available, given the difference in, when people buy gas and how often their parking lot is full, if it's ever full at all.
Mhm.
But that would need to be evaluated and we'll see what kind of parking numbers are available.
How many stalls is it if the 14 are on it? It's 29, right?
Can we do this?
Yeah.
What was our total parking when we did after?
The original was 15 or 16 stalls in the original paved area, and this is an additional 14. I forget the number of parking spaces on the
North side. of the
the north side of the building. There are many. And we can see that in the aerial.
I thought we were up around 50 parking stalls in total. Because some of those stalls are double deep. So they're not all single stalls, there are a couple double stalls in there.
I would say this is a good start towards providing the additional parking in a code compliant manner.
It's
But it's
50.
probably not going to be the end of it.
I count 50.
Exactly. It's not going to be the end of it. And I'm just trying to make everybody aware that while this is a step that we took and we're fine, this is now interior of the building is compliant. It's the exterior operation that's now starting to have the problems, and they're a victim of their own success. They're doing a great job. It's a fabulous place, but the outdoor has some issues that we got to deal with.
Further discussion on the motion to approve? Yes, Ms. Henk.
I would just like to note that there are not enough ADA compliant stalls on this parking lot. For 50 stall parking lot, you need more than one.
There's one on the south side. Is there one on the north side? Thought there was one on the north side existing.
Director Etzau?
I'm just making a note. It was my understanding that all of the ADA compliant stalls required are on the north side of the site. We can check into that, and if that's not the case, then we'll have to make sure that is restriped to accommodate one additional stall.
Mr. Brooks, do you know if, is there two or just one? Okay, so then another would have to be added. Okay, thank you. Mr. Brooks said there is just one for those that couldn't hear. Further discussion? Mr. Williams?
So I'm just gonna follow up on the same issue I had the last time this came up, and that is we're allowing them to continue on with the non-compliance of the first parking lot, and then we're gonna allow this CUP to move forward with the land. So any future business owner, leasee that comes on here, I mean, we're never in a position again where we have to get them to comply until they sell the land to somebody else and they want to change the use of the property. Is that correct?
Can you repeat that question?
Sure. One of the conditions says that the CUP moves with the land,
Right.
runs with the land and transfers to subsequent business owners. So the first parking lot is not compliant, and we're not asking them to get into compliance with this new parking lot. So effectively, any business owner or landowner in the future is going to continue to maintain that non-compliance unless they want to change the use of the land.
Yes, or again, expand. I mean, if there's another request to change the CUP to add additional parking, for example, the plan commission could at that point in time require that it be brought back into compliance.
And why do you believe, just understanding, why do we believe it's not important to require them to become compliant with the addition of the new parking area?
Well, frankly, I do think it should be required, and that was my original recommendation, to require that. The original CUP was worded in such a way that if you wanted to expand the off-site parking area, as was eventually proposed, you had to get the CUP amended, and then you had to reconstruct the existing parking area as well as any new additional parking you were seeking to be compliant with the code. And those were the requirements in the CUP. Now, as we discussed at the meeting in March, the two options that were presented, one was a code compliant option, but it yielded one less parking stall because it was, my words, artificially capped at 5,000 square feet so as to not exceed stormwater management requirements. And thus, only 14 additional stalls would be provided with this new, now paved option 1. So you're kind of preaching to the choir as far as, whether it should be compliant or not. Ultimately, it was the collective decision of the Plan Commission to, and the board through the CUP to allow this modified option 1 to prevail.
On the outdoor nights, do you know how many people are average there? Or is there not numbers on that?
Mr. Brooks is here. Maybe he could answer that question.
Push the button on the base, Mr. Brooks, so that the light goes out. There you go.
All right, as far as outdoor versus indoor, it ebb and flows. So when we have bands, the inside is quiet. The outside gets busy, vice versa on that. And as far as, I just want to address one other issue before, the liquor license, what I believe is not in question. That was approved. It was just the outdoor extension. But when you mentioned earlier about liquor licenses in play with this, I believe our liquor license has been approved. It's just the outdoor extension that they're holding up.
That's
correct?
that's my understanding.
Just want to make sure we're clear on that. But as far as parking, these 14 stalls would put us at a point where we would cover our occupancy in there. I know you don't have an occupancy for outdoor, but when we have a band outside, and I know a few of you board members have been at our place when we had bands. Crowd tends to go outside for the band if it's outside, and the inside is pretty light. Obviously, when the band ends, they come in. But it's not like the inside is packed and the outside is packed. In 5 years, if that's happened twice, I count on one hand. So it's either outside or inside.
But is it like there's 300 people there on that night or 100 people or?
Less than 100. 80, 90 people, maybe. Maybe 100 on the really busy nights, if 50 are outside or 60, 70, whatever, and 20 inside.
Well, I only ask because if the 50 parking stalls and then the gas station are full, then you approve all this, they go and park on the side of the road anyway. Just like you said, you're a victim of your success, so that's great that everybody wants to come there. It's just, I don't know, I'd be worried about them running across the road in the dark and going back and forth that way. And it just becomes an overflow problem where they're parking on the side of the road again, because there's not anybody out there policing them, right? Like telling them you can't park there, you gotta move.
No,
You guys make announcements.
we do. We make announcements, but we're not out there when they're
Grass.
parking, when they're pulling up, we're not.
If you're parked on the grass, please move your car. You're not allowed to be there.
Right,
So they've been doing that,
yes.
but
And BP.
Yeah.
And us and BP have an agreement. I mean, our patrons go over there and they purchase things and buy gas from the BP. It's kind of an agreement we have. And we get whatever, 6, 8 spots over there. They shouldn't be on the grass over there. If they are, they should be ticketed, cited, whatever.
Okay.
But it's either inside or outside.
Sure.
If you come any night you want to see it when we have a band, it's either gonna be inside or outside. You're not gonna have a packed inside and a packed outside.
Sure.
Sure.
All right. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Brooks.
So Jeff, do we need a amendment to deal with the handicap stalls, or that's just a code?
No, we don't need an amendment.
Okay.
We'll look into that and make sure the proper number is provided.
Okay. Further discussion on a motion to approve.
Do we need any other amendments?
No.
No. Okay.
Any further discussion on a motion to approve? No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? One opposed? Motion passes. Next item under new business is item B. Thank you for coming, Mr. Brooks. Appreciate it. New business, item B, Crew Car Wash, property owner located at North 96th, West 17500, County Line Road. Sign review for a new Crew Car Wash facility on tonight's agenda for action. To get more information, background on this new business item, we'll turn the meeting over once again to Director Retzlaff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The new Crew Car Wash will be located, as shown on the screen, on Emmer Drive, the short frontage road adjacent to County Line Road, just west of the US 41 interchange. Back in April of this year, site plan approval was granted for a new 4,500 square foot car wash facility. The site will be completely redeveloped and replace the existing BP gas convenience store and car wash operation on the 1 acre parcel. At that time, action was tabled on the sign package, and that is presented here this evening for your consideration. Since that meeting, staff has worked with the Crew Car Wash representatives for signage. Some modifications have been made to some of the signs that were originally proposed, and staff believes the package that is presented now is code compliant and recommends approval for 21 total signs, including wall signage, the replacement of the pylon sign face, and mostly directional signage, instructional signage around the site. I can quickly go through some of those signs. The monument sign will be refaced. The existing pylon sign will be refaced. Signage will be included on 2 of the elevations on the building itself. Additional instructional signage back into the site itself for those in the queue for the car wash, and additional directional signage, wall mounted and directional monument ground signs as well across the site. The staff recommendation is to approve as proposed, subject to one condition that simply has to do with getting an electrical permit for any signage that requires electrical work. Thank you.
Okay,
Make a motion to approve the proposal as presented.
motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Next item under new business is item C, Innovative Signs, Inc., agent for TDC Willow Creek LLC, property owner located at North 102, West 19200, Willow Creek Way. That is on tonight's agenda for sign review for Diamond Vogel on for action. Give us more information, background on this new business item. We'll turn the meeting over to the Associate Planner, Jordan Yankee.
All right, thank you. So I don't have a sign package, just one wall sign for review. We'll go to the site here. So the applicant on this is Diamond Vogel. Actually, it would be the tenant, the owner. I'll get to in a moment, but Innovative Signs is proposing a wall sign at the new industrial building located off of Willow Creek Way. I'll actually go back for a second. You'll see the address. And that building was approved about a year ago and was recently constructed. As you'll see here, it was approved in 2023, a little bit over 200,000 square feet of industrial multi-tenant type building. Part of the Willow Creek Business Park, that building is. As I mentioned, this is a application, Innovative Signs, for agent for TDC Willow Creek, the property owner, requesting approval just for one wall sign for Diamond Vogel at the subject location. I'll just go through a couple little images that were in the packet as well. You'll see that that is the wall sign proposed, roughly 81.5 square feet. In this image, you have a day and night version of how the channel letters will illuminate on the building. And here is the layout of the new building. The location of the sign is a little hard to see, I guess, with the colors, but in the image, it's in the top left, but actually that would be the southwestern facing wall of the building. So again, it's roughly 81.5 square feet. It meets the square footage allotment in the code. It will be illuminated in accordance with the application from Innovative Signs. And again, it's at the southwest corner of the building above the building entrance. So with that, the recommendation of staff is to approve the wall sign for Diamond Bogle, subject to two conditions. One, as Jeff just mentioned, would be the same on this one, the requirement to obtain an electrical or building electrical permit for review. And the other condition noted in the packet was to obtain written approval by the association actually for that industrial park. So with that, I can answer any questions. I do believe the applicant is in the crowd tonight as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposal with the two conditions.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? No discussion? All,
Did you?
you have a question? Okay, do you want to come to the podium and state your, and you are, sir? Okay,
I believe the electrical permit for the sign was covered under the original developer's electrician's permit.
okay. Thank you for that. Further discussion? No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Next item under new business is item D, Bryan Building Corp., agent for Green Bay Packaging, Inc., property owner, Northeast Quadrant, Holy Hill Road and Highway 41, for a certified survey map application to combine 3 parcels into one for construction of a new 270,000 square foot light manufacturing office facility. To give us more information background on this new business item, once again, we'll turn the meeting over to our associate planner, Jordan Yankee.
Thank you. So this is a certified survey map application. Green Bay Packaging, a new industrial warehousing facility. The partial office was approved recently. I'll get into that in a moment. And just strictly in terms of the proposal, again, these are 3 existing parcels. What the certified survey map is proposing is to combine the parcels. So no change in overall acreage or the development that was approved previously. And this site is located in the Holy Hill Gateway District. Here you can see the site location. It was rezoned to M1 Limited Industrial, and you'll see some of the surrounding area there. But in short, the certified survey map would create one total parcel that you can see depicted in the site location map. Here is the existing site with that gas station just to the south nestled in. And as I mentioned, this is in the Holy Hill Gateway District, which calls out industrial as desirable land use in our 2050 plan. Some brief background, again, the land use plan change and a rezone was approved for the site as recent as 2023. The land use plan was changed to light industrial warehousing, and the zoning was changed to M1 to support the new Green Bay packaging facility. Site development plan and the conditional use permit was approved earlier this year, actually just as recent as April, I believe. And in totality, it's roughly 270,000 square foot warehousing facility with a small office. Just to sort of reiterate, the result of the CSM will be a 1-lot, 51.895 acre lot to house that manufacturing facility. Here's a CSM, hard to see, but again, that lot mimics what was on the previous slide. One thing to note, there is a little bit of a jog in the lot line on the southern portion. I believe that was through dedication of public right-of-way with the Holy Hill reconstruction. So you'll see a little triangle portion of property that will actually be dedicated right-of-way, if I'm not mistaken. With that here zoomed in a little bit, you can see the new road entrance design for the facility. A couple comments here. We actually had 2 village surveyor memos on this. I believe we had a change in surveyor at the time, but to include everything, we wanted to reference the minor technical corrections in each of those memos and make it a condition of approval. So as you can see here, the staff recommendation is to approve the one lot certified survey map at the sublocation, subject to the two conditions, which references the minor technical corrections prior to recording of the map. And with that, that is all I have on that one.
Okay, commissioners,
Make a motion to approve the certified survey map with the two conditions as presented.
Second.
motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Next item under new business is new business item E, Bryan Building Corp. Agent for Goldendale Road 4 LLC, property owner located at North 206 West 12880 Gateway Court, certified survey map for a property line adjustment to accommodate expansion of the Golden Pet Manufacturing Facility. On tonight's agenda for action, give us more information, background on this new business item. We'll turn the meeting over again to Mr. Yankee, our associate planner.
Thank you. So as you mentioned, it's another certified survey map. One thing to note, I believe in the packet or memo, the road name was named Gatewood. It is Gateway Court, so the address referenced in the slide is the correct address of the location. This proposal, it's for Golden Road IV or 4 LLC property owner. They're requesting approval of the certified survey map to adjust the property line 10 feet north to accommodate Golden Pet Manufacturing Facility and expansion to that facility. And again, that property is located off of Gateway Court in the Holy Hill Gateway District, just east of the prior location we just talked about. So here you can see the site location, subject property where Golden Pet Manufacturing Facility is in the southern portion of the red boxed area. The site is zoned M1. And you can see some of the surrounding area with newer development as well that has happened over the recent years. A little bit more zoomed in portion of the existing site. And same as the last one, this is in the Holy Hill Gateway District, which calls out industrial uses as desirable in our 2050 plan. And some background on this, the site development and building plans were approved in 2023 for Golden Pet's expansion. And it was about 130,000 square foot addition to the existing facility at the time, which would be to the north of the building. Little background, final building plans were submitted for review. The actual architectural building plans were submitted for review. And there was a building code compliance item that required a bit more of separation from the new facilities expansion to where the northern lot line would be existing prior to this proposal to move the property line 10 feet north. So the movement of the property line 10 feet north under this CSM would accommodate that expansion without any issues under the International Building Code for setbacks for the building. So the result would be a 2-lot certified survey map, lot 1 and lot 2, as you can see there, the 2 uses and names of the businesses. This really isn't adjusting acreage that much, considering it's a 10-foot swath of land, but those would be the resulting acres for each reference lot. And here on the certified survey map are the 2 lots. As you can see, and I just highlighted, it's difficult to see, but the 10-foot lot line adjustment would be within that red box, just going north. Again, same as the last one, we didn't have 2 memos on this one, but the village surveyor had some minor technical corrections for the certified survey map. And so staff is recommending approval of the CSM for Golden Pet Manufacturing in reference to the 1 condition of approval for accommodating those minor technical corrections prior to recordation of the CSM. That's all I have.
Okay,
Make a motion to approve the 2-lot certified survey map with the 1 technical correction as presented.
motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Next item under new business is item F, Keller Inc., agent for Orange Blossom LLC, property owner of David J. Frank Landscaping located at North 120 West 21350 Freistadt Road. Site plan review applications for a 5,200 square foot corporate office building addition and a 1,552 square foot landscape maintenance division office building, and a sign permit application for a wall and monument signs. That's on tonight's agenda for action. And to give us more information background on this new business item, we'll turn the meeting over to Director Retzela.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A little background, DJ Frank, Landscape Contracting Services is in the midst of expanding and making improvements to their property. Back in 2023, 3 approvals were granted as prerequisites to them being able to move forward and expand as they have been. A certified survey map for to combine parcels to create the 139-acre parcel that you see here highlighted in red. A rezoning of the property into the A2 agricultural district, and a conditional use permit allowing horticultural contracting services in the A2 district. All were approved, again, as necessary in order to embark on their expansion. Earlier this year, a 9,376 square foot maintenance building was approved by the Plan Commission. Construction has commenced on that. Other improvements include those on tonight's agenda. The 5,200 square foot office building addition and parking lot expansion and pavement, a 1,552 square foot office building for the landscape maintenance division is also proposed on the site, and wall and monument signage, updated wall and monument signage for the property. This portion of the site plan shows the office addition, referred to in the staff report as the corporate office addition. It's again 5,250 square feet, a single-story building with a 15-foot high parapet, wall height, the first floor offices and meeting space. There is a 2,500 square foot green roof proposed. Here, and you can see here. That would be for meeting spaces, entertaining with outside, has outside stairway access, pergola, seating, planters, and other features as shown in the detailed plans. There is an existing attached warehouse storage area that will be removed and replaced with this new office addition. The materials and the architecture, a horizontal lap siding and stone veneer. There's also a 28-foot high roof fin for signage, as I'll show you shortly when we discuss the signage proposal. But again, clicking through some of the renderings for the addition, you can see the stone veneer on the elevations facing what would be 41, and the green roof up above top of the building is a rather interesting feature that, given the proximity of the building to 41, should be kind of interesting to see when there's activity up there on the roof, to actually see activity on the site. It should be kind of exciting for their operation. A couple more of the office building addition renderings. You can see the roof fin with the signage that's proposed. This portion of the site plan shows where the proposed landscape maintenance division office building is proposed. Again, 1,550 square feet, a single story, a simple office building with meeting space. It's going to replace an existing temporary office trailer that's on the site. Again, materials include horizontal lap siding and asphalt roofing for this particular building. Signage includes updated wall signage. As shown here, the roof fin on the office addition will have a double-sided sign, if you will, as shown and visible from the highway. The day-night view is shown here on the renderings, and also a new proposed monument sign for the primary entrance off of Freistadt Road. In terms of staff commentary, there's a few issues. The existing parking lot and proposed sign location both encroach into US 41 right-of-way. And US WSDOT permission is required. Typically, they issue what's known as a revocable occupancy agreement that allows encroachments that they can require to be removed as necessary. In fact, DJ Frank, I'm going to skip back to the first graphics. DJ Frank had at one point a revocable occupancy agreement for a monument sign at their entryway that was invalidated by the DOT prior to the DOT coming through and making the improvements they recently finished to the bridge work and the roadway on either side. Now that that work is done, I believe DOT will be reissuing an irrevocable occupancy agreement, but that hasn't been resolved at this point in time. So one of the conditions of approval is that the signage not be installed until that agreement is in place. Another issue, the property and the overall operation is served by on-site wells and a private sanitary system, holding tanks in this case. We are simply looking for verification from Washington County that the existing system capacity that may be required for the minimal additional loading is satisfactory and no other improvements are required to their system. And finally, we're also waiting for verification from the village engineer that the existing on-site stormwater management facilities, there's a series of 3 ponds that are, I'm going to skip ahead here to the site plan. You can see portions of those ponds north of the proposed LMD building that have been existing on the site for a number of years. We're simply looking for verification that those ponds are suitable to handle the minimal additional impervious area being added by these improvements. As you might guess, looking at the aerial photographs and the site plan, the majority of the site, the developed areas of the site where the building addition and new building are proposed, as well as the parking lot south of the office addition that will be paved. Those areas are all compacted gravel right now and to a degree are considered to be impervious. So there's minimal additional runoff that is expected from these improvements that simply will need to be verified. The existing stormwater facilities can handle that. Finally, the village forester had a couple of comments about additional parking lot landscaping being required per code. That again is one of the conditions of approval. The staff recommendation on the site plan applications for the office building addition and the new LMD office building is to approve, subject to 6 conditions. And the staff recommendation with regard to the sign application is to approve the proposed wall and building entrance and monument signs, subject to 3 conditions. Representatives for DJ Frank are here this evening. Is there anything you'd like to add or comments you want to make? Please come forward and
Yeah, Scott Lawson with Keller, representing DGF. Just 2 things to note. There was a condition on the signage for the base. On the base of the monument sign by the road, we did adjust that, so we'll send that in with stone as you requested, so we did that. And then the other thing would be just to address the verification from Washington County Land and Use for the holding tank. We did do some due diligence in the last couple of days. It's a 4,000 gallon tank with the additional new employees and the current employees that will be in the existing office and new office. It's a requirement of like 3,900 gallons. So we're just underneath what's there as existing. So just wanted to clean those 2 items up for you.
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Commissioners,
Make a motion to approve the site development and building plans as presented with the 6 conditions.
You're just going for 2 and not at this time the sign permit?
I will do the sign permit separately.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? Trustee Ball.
Director Retzloff, we are not approving floor plans of the building. Correct. I'm merely questioning that because I'm not sure how we're putting a second story addition on without elevator access to it. So. Just to make sure
No,
that-
no, we're not approving the floor plan. Obviously, that would be a code requirement. I don't know if is there somebody who can address that here?
I don't think we have to here. I just want to make it noted that we are not approving the floor plan at this time.
That's correct.
Right. Okay. That's all I had.
Okay, further discussion? The only thing I would like to add is the investment made into this property is appreciated. David J. Frank's been here a long time. It's been a business in Germantown for many, many years. And for the additional investment that you're making here to make it bigger and better and bring more employees is very much appreciated by me as village president. So thank you. Further discussion on the motion to approve? No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Next motion.
Make a motion to approve the proposed wall, building entrance, and monument signs as presented with the 3 conditions.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve the sign permit applications for the wall and monument signs? No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Takes care of all motions under new business, item F. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it very much. Next item under new business is item G, Sunstar Real Estate Ventures LLC, agent for Christian Life Center, Inc., property owner, a site plan consultation for a 68-unit multifamily residential development. On tonight's agenda for consultation, to give us more information background on this new business item G, we'll turn the meeting over again to Director Retzloff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you indicated, we received a site plan consultation application from Sunstar Real Estate Ventures. Jack Collier and Scott Stevlingson have provided the application materials in your packet. The purpose for tonight's item is to consider what's been presented and discuss with the applicant their intentions. As you indicated, this is for a property owned by the Christian Life, Inc. It's located on Fond du Lac Avenue, just north of County Line Road, is highlighted in red. There's a graphic that shows the location closer up to the west, Autumn Ridge Single Family Subdivision; to the north, Seven Pines Condominiums; to the south, a single family residence on a 5-acre parcel; and east of Fond du Lac Avenue, some large lot residential hobby farm properties. The Christian Life Center, a little background, the property owner of a almost 7-acre parcel on on Fond du Lac Avenue. It does include some right-of-way. I'm going to get to a graphic here. The current zoning is institutional. At the time, in the year 2000, the Christian Life proposed a development that included a church and a school, and at the time was required to dedicate right-of-way for the extension of Crimson Road from the west to the east to connect the Autumn Ridge subdivision to Fond du Lac Avenue. Crimson Road is constructed a segment through the Autumn Ridge subdivision. It abuts the southwest corner of this particular property. You can see it just off the screen there. The property owner proposed development and had a development agreement with the village to construct the road. But the project never came to fruition, and ultimately in 2008, the development agreement was canceled. The project was withdrawn. And the property has obviously sat vacant since that time. We did have another development proposal back in 2010 for a similar 60 dwelling unit multifamily proposal. It had some comments were provided. We got into the discussion about the Crimson Road extension, and that was about the extent of it. We didn't have any further discussion about that particular project. In this case, the Sunstar is proposing a development with a total of 68 multifamily dwelling units, 6 two-story buildings. Again, a total of 68 units, each 2-bed, 2-bath, approximately, I believe, 1,200 square feet each. Each has a private entry and a 1-car attached garage. Parking would be 2 spaces per unit and 35 visitor spaces throughout the site. The density would be just under 10 units per acre, which is consistent with the 2050 plan classification. This property is in the Victory Center corridor that does allow multifamily residential up to 10 units per acre. The construction, wood frame construction with vinyl and shake siding, brick veneer wainscoting, and architectural shingles. There's perimeter landscaping along Fond du Lac Avenue, adjacent to the subdivision and the condo developments on the west and the north. On-site stormwater pond would be provided, and an open space activity field included in the center of the proposal. The development would have access directly and only to Fond du Lac Avenue. The proposal is to not extend Crimson Road and to vacate that right-of-way along the south side of the property. In order for the project to move forward, there would be a rezoning required to rezone the property to the RM3 multifamily zoning district. Site development of building plans would be required, and the Crimson Road right-of-way would need to be vacated through that formal process. Some issues, the multifamily development, the appropriateness and suitability of this particular development, if the density relative to the single-family development to the west and the lower density condos to the north would need to be considered. And certainly the Crimson Road extension issue will have to be addressed once again. At this point in time, village staff does not support vacating Crimson Road and supports the extension of the road to Fond du Lac Avenue. However, I would point out that back in 2010, when this issue was first discussed with the Plan Commission, we did have a number of residents from the subdivision to the west who came out and expressed their opposition to the Crimson Road extension, as well as the developer at that time, too, not wanting to construct Crimson Road. So with that, is Jim and or Scott here? You guys want to come forward and share the podium there and fill us in a little bit about your proposal?
Thank you very much for hearing us. My name is Jack Collier, Scott Stevenson with Sunstar. We're up here for comments and consideration. We took into consideration some of the some of the concepts that were presented in 2010. And my understanding was that there was feedback from the neighbors, like Mr. Etzloff has said, about the vacation of Crimson Road. And we felt that we'd like to follow in that same concept. We read the 2050 plan and also the Tracy Cross plan, where there is a need for multifamily in this area, and trying to accommodate some of those suggestions.
Okay.
There's no motion needed on this. It's just
No, it's consultation.
I will start with I like this plan based on better than some of the other ones that have been brought forward over the past. The fact that we do have the corners of buildings fronting 145 instead of garages that are predominantly on 145 in the past. The vacation of Crimson Road, I'm in favor of that. I do recall the neighbors didn't want it to go through, so if we could eliminate that, I think we're okay. At one point, I heard stories of the fire department wanting that road to remain for access, but in the 40 years that that development has been, fire department has never needed to get through this way. They got plenty of access from other perspectives. 2-unit buildings or 2-unit apartments, 4 buildings with 12 units, 2 buildings with 10 units. Density is per our requirements, so I don't have a problem with that. My only hesitation was the way the vehicles access to get to the western side of the northern building. You have to go through a circuitous route to get there, which is a little concerning to me, but if that's the way residents have to get there, that's the way they got to get there. So architecturally, you're in keeping with everything else that's around the area. So I didn't have a problem with the architecture. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Commissioners, other comments, questions? Yes, Ms. Hank.
So like trustee Baum, I'm not a big fan of the circulation of the site. It looks like you may have a lot of vehicles where you have your amenities, where people are maybe driving through that area where you may want more of a passive area. So just the site circulation needs a little bit more attention.
Yeah, I had a question about that. Your activity center in the middle just says activity center. What do you envision putting there in light of it's essentially the middle of a roundabout? Granted, it's a
Well,
lightly traveled roundabout, but
Concepts are thrown around about some kind of a gazebo or a pergola and some, obviously, heavy landscaping.
it's more of an aesthetic feature
More
as
aesthetic
opposed to
than
functional.
activity.
Okay.
commissioners, other comments?
Any playground equipment gonna go in anywhere? Would that be in the amenity area or not?
Wasn't considered. We think this is going to be young professionals and or empty nesters that would be renting.
Do you
Families.
have a feel or a historic data of how many young children will be living in this facility? Guideline,
What was the
idea?
question again? I'm sorry.
How many young children will be living in
School-aged.
this? School-aged children?
We don't, other than typically those are in 3-bedroom units, less likely in 2 bedrooms. But I think if we got 10%, it'd be high.
10% meaning
Of 7 units.
7 units in total would have, we
It
may
be a
have.
guess. I have no
children.
historical data, but
Okay.
it would be a guess.
It always comes up that you are overloading our schools with development and there's 5 kids per unit, some wild numbers we get. So just wanted to see if you had any true data. Thank you.
I don't.
Mr. Williams?
Earlier, you mentioned you had read that Tracy Cross report. I was just wondering if you could kind of give us an idea what the price point would be for rent for these units.
Be more 1,700 to 2,200.
Full rental, no ownership?
No, full rental.
With a property management group involved directly?
It would be, yes.
Okay. No, so it's not like a restricted development where it's 55 or older or anything like that. It'd be open to anybody that would wish to live in a community like this.
That's what we're thinking, yes.
Okay, so 68 units, let's just round it and say it's, I don't know, 140 some cars roughly. do you feel with what you have as one access to 145 that that's enough? And how far, do you know how far away that is from the intersection that's down a little bit further? Not only the first one for Autumn Ridge, but then the actual controlled intersection.
I don't know how far it is. I've got another graphic that might help.
Huh.
I know the,
Okay.
there's an access restriction on this property that was assigned in cooperation with the DOT, where access was essentially limited to the point at which Crimson Road would intersect with Fond du Lac Avenue, because
Okay.
it's the high point. It's sort of a ridge right in front of this particular parcel. So there was a concern back then, when the land was first divided, to identify where future access would be allowed, and it's just the one spot. As shown here on this particular drawing or aerial photograph, it's the circled area is the parcel, and the dash blue is effectively the Crimson Road extension
Mm-hmm.
that the village had envisioned when requiring the right-of-way to be dedicated. As you can see in this graphic, the area to the west, Autumn Ridge, Treetops, and other subdivisions, their access beyond their neighborhood is to the north to Donjas Bay, or to the south to County Line exclusively, other than in that far northeast corner. So the call for, the need for, the desire to keep Crimson Road is to provide the ability for enhanced circulation in the neighborhood. And yes, the argument that it hasn't been there forever, and we haven't had any issues, is certainly the argument that was made back in 2010, and will likely be the same argument made going forward. I would expect the developer too would say, if we have to build the road, we're not doing the development. So it may come down to a question of, if it's important enough to the village, will the village want to install the road or continue to require the developer to put it in?
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably the biggest issue that we'll have to deal with going forward.
Question, comment.
Sure. Trustee Baum?
As I recall in some discussions, the property to the south is also not allowed to have access to 145?
The property to the south is a 5-acre parcel with a house on it in terrible condition. We've been working with a property owner to try and get him to reconstruct or remodel. He's pulled a permit a couple years ago and hasn't really been advancing on that. My desire, frankly, would be that that property is somehow acquired and maybe incorporated into a development like this, so that there could be access to one central shared driveway location at the high point on Fond du Lac Avenue. But to answer your question, there currently is a private driveway that serves that house. And that driveway is just immediately south of the common property line between the Christian Life property and the 5-acre property.
Problematic location for that 5 acres to be further developed? Or we would allow 140 cars out of here and 80 cars out of there in those tight?
Well, the problem with the property to the south is if the driveway, you're pretty much going downhill from the south part, from the future Crimson Road extension as it's planned to County Line Road, you're going downhill.
Mm-hmm.
So any driveway out onto Fond du Lac Avenue, you're going to have to deal with kind of a blind view from the north as you're exiting that particular property. There probably, we'll have to work with the DOT. We could discuss that with them. But access, controlled access to a common shared driveway at the high point, that's just off this particular property where the Crimson Road extension is planned, makes a lot of sense going down the road.
So we should express that to the applicants?
Well,
That would be
given their
interesting.
plan, I don't know how we, share that driveway.
you would come in, turn left,
Correct.
and instead of hitting those garage doors, you make another left and go further south and cut through the property there.
I mean, if we can, you could certainly reconfigure that way. It makes a lot of sense. Again, to share a driveway with whatever happens to the south as opposed to, having a similarly dense development to the south exiting directly onto Fond du Lac Avenue in a tight vision spot.
Without knowing what that landowner wants to do now or in the future, it's kind of hard for us to plan accordingly and to lay that site out. But it's something we could take into consideration.
If we could get a cross-access agreement in verbiage,
Yeah, I would say
Maybe
that in
just a-
exchange, if the village is willing to do this, exchange the vacation of the right of way for a cross-access agreement to provide for access to the property to the south.
okay, so at some point, if it's not proposed by you, I would make that motion. So I would say prepare for it.
So would that become the primary access for the property owner to the south, and then the road that access he has now goes away?
No,
No, I guess it would kick in with redevelopment of that
Okay.
property to the south. So I think what we would be looking for, in addition to that shared driveway agreement or access agreement, is redesigning your driveway intersection
To
in a
accommodate
manner that could
future.
accommodate, let's say for the sake of discussion, a comparably sized and dense development on almost a mirror type, plan, number of cars, traffic, turn lanes, what have you.
what's your acreage here?
7.
Yeah, just under 7.
So on the next property to the south, you might be able to get another 3 buildings flipped down to the bottom.
Yeah, I think, is that a 5-acre parcel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It,
Something like
again,
that.
down the road, but yes, I mean, if it would probably make sense as one.
Yeah.
Contiguous development.
Mhm. Okay. Good.
I had a question, or
Sure.
maybe expression of a concern. Along the west property line, adjacent to the single-family subdivision, you've got those 2 points with the 2 buildings where the corner of the building is close and the drive lane goes around it where it's real close to the edge of the property.
Yes.
I mean, clearly you can't put much landscaping in a narrow spot like that. Is there a way that you could possibly reorient those buildings a little bit and allow the drive lanes to be further into the interior and allow for greater buffering and landscaping along the west property line?
You can try. We worked hard to try to get that.
That's what I'm saying, the security.
Maybe it's we can work on, maybe it's trying to shrink our
Orientation of the
buildings or
building.
orientate them to
You
something.
already got an engine back
Sure.
there.
Have you had the fire department look at this?
Yes, John Delane was one of the advocates for requiring the extension of Crimson Road and not vacating it. And he also commented that the driveway, the turn in and the radii around the corners of the buildings they look a little tight. So he thought that at the time or leading up to site plan review, they would be asking for more detail, turning movement templates, if you will, for fire trucks around those corners.
Seeing that Crimson Way is already paved to the west, is there some type of temporary fire department only access that we could do to get the fire department a second way in if I'm fighting a fire with the tight turning radiuses and the tight streets, if I'm fighting a fire on the western building, one of the western buildings, how do I get all the trucks, all the firefighting apparatus back that deep?
At Rivers Cove, they have like a chained off, just
And
right
that's why
over
I'm
here.
wondering if I could put some type of a temporary through Crimson and just through this southwest,
Like gravel.
put a gravel right to those parking stalls and you can at least get into the parking stalls.
We could certainly discuss that with the fire department and
Yeah.
get
that-
their opinion on that.
Well, I look at it, you know, there's parking for cars in the garage and then there's parking for cars in the parking stalls. But just seeing the other developments around here, there will also be 60 cars parked along the side of the parking lot.
They'll be parked in front of the garage
Yeah,
door.
because the garage will be their storage unit. So it's way too tight. And the two ends, just having them shut off like that to try to get into those two back corners. I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me how it's completely shut off to get back there. I'm sure from a density standpoint, it makes total sense to have those two more buildings, but
We had other layouts. They're pretty boring and more rectangular and not too creative. And we felt that this gave, more contours to it and intrigue, flow and so forth, as opposed to just a U-shaped or full circular type of design. But we can certainly look at that again.
even when the snowbanks are in there too, I mean, you got 4 front lawns are gonna be stuffed, 12 feet tall with snow or the amenity area. That's about it.
Could you describe the architecture and the materials that you're proposing?
A combination of LP siding and brick veneer, asphalt shingles. Use aluminum soffits, fascia typically.
So on this, using this diagram, where is the brick?
Down along the lower level, just around the windows. It's a brick belt.
About 3 feet high?
Correct, typical,
And then everything else is the lap side.
correct.
And then shingle, it's a smart siding shingle product on the gable ends.
Correct, on the gables.
And then you have the brick on the ends of the building going up to the second floor level.
Again,
the
all
garage.
Wrap around.
Wouldn't you want some brick in the interior portion to bring out that gable roof
We could do
section?
that.
More articulation.
This seems like a lot of just lap siding. Sure.
If where you have the gables, in this one, the center gable, if that can be projected a bit so that you get more articulation in the plan.
Mhm.
And then that could be accentuated with additional stone as well.
Sure.
Can I see a picture that goes all the way to county line again? Is there a sidewalk in front of Autumn Ridge? No sidewalk there? So we have a stretch of sidewalk that's from Seven Pines and nothing beyond that? Just kind of an island of sidewalk?
Yes, one of the requirements of the Christian Life development was going to be the installation of sidewalk along Fond du Lac Avenue.
Okay.
And I believe that that this section of Fond du Lac does appear on the sidewalk plan,
Mhm.
path and sidewalk plan, so
To
sidewalk.
connect down
would
to
be a
county line
requirement.
eventually?
Pardon me?
To connect to the sidewalk that's down on county line?
Yes, and to the north.
Okay. All right, so that would be a requirement of this development as well. I mean, the proximity of where it is to other multifamily type buildings is I don't have a problem with. The only difference is you're putting this in the middle of condominiums. There would be a zoning application for this, so it would go through public hearing?
Yes, the current zoning is institutional. And to meet the proposed up to 10, over 8 to 10 units per acre would require the RM3 residential multifamily zoning district.
Okay.
Seven Pines is 8 units per acre?
No, it's RM1, which is 6 units per acre. In fact, it's total of 36 dwelling units were approved in 9 buildings on 6.35 acres. So
I think you'll have that coming, both of those representatives from both of those areas coming to the public hearing to view and to give their comments.
yes, for sure. And I'm trying to recall, in addition to commenting about Crimson Road, the residents to the west in the single family were asking for as much buffering, landscaping, visual buffer as possible. Now granted, it's been 14 years since then, so a lot of what was in their backyards, I'm sure has
Grown.
and that visual buffer may naturally be there already.
Autumn Ridge used to have a very active HOA and community that would come to anything that would impact or have a result to their development. So I would expect a fair amount of representatives from that development here to speak and give their comments in regards to this development. Other questions, comments, recommendations? No? Anything else for us, gentlemen?
No, thank you.
All right, well, we appreciate the opportunity to take a look at this and provide some additional information for you. And if there anything pops up or you have questions, of course, you can always reach out to Mr. Retzloff and he'll be happy to help you. So thank you very much for bringing this forward. You're welcome. Takes care of all items on tonight's agenda under new business. So then that takes us to citizen input and public appearance. On items that are not subject to a public hearing, there were no public hearings on tonight's agenda. So if there's anyone within our audience or joining us via WebEx that would like to participate in citizen input or public appearance, you're welcome to do so at this time. If you have an opportunity to fill out a yellow slip, that is greatly appreciated by the recording secretary, so she gets your name spelled right and your address correct. So anyone within our audience that would like to come forward at this time for citizen input or public appearance, you're welcome to do so. You.
Melanie Smythe, N140W17938 Cedar Lane. Good evening. And welcome to the new assistant planner and the new commissioners. Hopefully the ones who are not here tonight will be able to take a look at the recording. So I just want to provide a little bit of history for some of the people who are newer. Many people in the village do not consider the 2050 plan to be complete because there were promised neighborhood meetings and those have not occurred. At the time of the writing of the plan and the acceptance by the village board, there were 3 identified. One was the village center. One was an area called Woodside, which is north of Holy Hill. And another one was around the Lannon, I believe it was the Lannon and County Line Road area. And that is because there were a number of projects that were brought forward by various developers, and there was a lot of outcry. And with the 2050 process, we never actually got to the detail of looking at those areas. One of the things to note about Holy Hill is previously to it being industrial, it was expected to be residential. So that's a big difference. The village center, recently, one of the things that has happened is that the village board has purchased some property in the area of the village center, but it has no apparent anticipated use. So there's some questions about that. That has never been brought forward. Well, there was a statement made at a previous village board meeting about it, but it's unclear as to what's supposed to happen with that. And the Victory Center is an area where there's a number of proposals that have been brought forward recently, and there are a lot of residents who live around that area. So that's another one that needs to have another neighborhood meeting. 2 more sentences. So for 3 years, we've asked that these meetings be held, and so far we've had no results. And there's one other little thing about the village center. In the last GGF meeting, there was a contract for $55,000 that was paid to Grey Wolf for something to do with the village center phase 3, but we've never been explained about what that is. So it would be nice to know what is happening behind these closed door sessions so that we can have an understanding and that we can also have these neighborhood meetings. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else who wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input or public appearance?
Could have made a paper airplane.
Thank you.
My name is Jason Jaguar. My address is W202 N10462 Appleton Avenue. I'm here to comment about the parking area for Das Barrel Room. He's playing down considerably the amount of cars that he has there. And he is a victim of his success. I would have to agree with that, but we're victims of it as well. The fact that Thursday they were parked, he's saying there's 8 or 10 cars at the gas station. It's jam-packed. We have pictures of it. They parking on both sides of Willow Creek on the grass. It's not a parking area. 10, 12 deep on the grass by the gas station. And the green light they got was not from the owner. It was from the people that run it for the owner. The fact that I understand him not wanting to put the money into a land that he doesn't own, but he's outgrown this location at least 6 months out of the year. And the level of noise that comes from all that additional traffic and the outside venue and all the music and all of that, it's been going on for years and years and years without much relief for us as the neighbors. He's had many opportunities to come forward and try to address any of that, hasn't taken any of them steps. And I appreciate the board having this different meeting and coming up on the 1st and not renewing his license immediately to help us get some kind of resolve on it. But this is a very temporary fix to a long-term problem that's been going on for years. So the 14 spots is not going to address much of anything. It may help them out in the winter, but as far as the summer, it's extensive. It's way too much. So, and the fact that he's got a pass already to not do all the additional improvements up front to be code compliant, how many more considerations he's supposed to get? And he doesn't even abide by the ordinances that he's supposed to. He exploits the ones that work for him and ignores the ones that don't. So I would just hope that the board would take all that into consideration going forward. I appreciate, and again, we really do appreciate giving us the opportunity on July 1st to help get some kind of relief of what's going on over there. It's kind of a long time coming. So thank you very much.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else who wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input or public appearance? You?
Scott Heffley, W159 and 10514 Old Farm Road, Germantown. I was not planning to speak tonight, but the last thing that we talk about with the 68 units, I don't have a problem necessarily with the project, but I heard something concerning that I've heard a couple other times in meetings like this, not with the commissioners, but when staff talks. I would be very careful with discussing ideas involving a private land or property, particularly when that person is not even here, talking about shared access and all that. I know it was consultation, but we seem to go down that road and have been going down that road in the past. That word gets out without talking to the landowner, they're going to think they got railroaded without even anyone talking to them. So I would be careful with discussing consulting shared use of driveways or whatever. I don't care that he pulled the permit and didn't build. He didn't build. It's still his land. Why do I say that? I say that because there's been a couple instances lately. We had a purple star on a map where we like to have a park. It turned out to be private property of a gentleman putting millions to restore it to a natural habitat, and he had to come and fight for himself. That's that consultation thing that gets out of hand. You got to go to these landowners and talk to them or whomever. Maybe they don't want to do it. Maybe they don't want to give you right away, okay? I wouldn't bring it up at a meeting as a discussion. Just like I wouldn't bring it up, yeah, you guys should annex the town of Germantown. How did that go? That was a consultation too. That went horribly. They were here in mass saying, what the hell are you doing to us? So you got to be careful with hearsay or what a great idea thrown out there. The last thing I'll say is that I see a lot of the same design coming forward, and I'm no architect, but I see a lot of the same materials, same everything, same looks of everything. All the buildings coming forward look the same. And I think that only has to do for one reason. We do not have any apparent design standards. I've lived in this village long enough to know we had a Germanic theme, and I don't want to go back to that. Although the library looks good, Village Hall looks good, Walgreens looks good. The Germanic theme was overwhelming, but there's some buildings that look good. We need actual design standards to hold people to, otherwise you're going to get all of the same and this village will look cookie cutter. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input or public appearance? Is there anyone joining us via WebEx that was raising their hand?
There's someone on there, but they're not raising their hand as far as I can tell.
Okay.
Is there someone online?
No.
Okay. Good evening, commissioners and people. Jan Miller, PO Box 837 Germantown. Just a couple of things. I am a trustee and I have gotten plenty of complaints about the noise at Das Barrel Room. I know that wasn't on your agenda tonight, but the whole parking situation is. And yes, they're successful. And I've said this before, perhaps they have outgrown their current situation. And I gave a suggestion before, how about just having their events and selling tickets and making sure that they are compliant with whatever amount of people that they can have inside and outside. If we have not established that, that's something that we really need to establish. The other thing is that we have established rules and regulations for two other properties that are businesses that have outdoor music. And I believe that we should be having those types of regulations for Das Barrel Room. And the other two are the Beer Stubbe as well as Appleworks. And then I really want to emphasize, well, first of all, welcome, Jordan. Good to see that Jeff has some help now so that we can get some things done, like the citizen meetings regarding some of these beautiful areas that we've identified in the 2050 plan. We really need citizen input. We're going to be doing that for a couple of roads of construction. We're having 2 input meetings for Division Road, and there's no reason why we can't do it for the Village Center, the Victory Center, whatever. And then my last comment is on the Sunstar proposal. We've seen other proposals that this commission has not liked with apartments. So I'd like to see a study where we actually say, yes, the Village of Germantown needs X amount of apartments that
We have that.
well, then are we following it? Are you saying the Tracy Cross study has it tells us how many apartments we have in the Village of Germantown and how many we're going to need? I don't think so, but I might have missed that page. Anyway, so I think a lot more citizen input needs to be brought forward. Thanks a lot, commissioners.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else who wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input or public appearance?
Various meetings.
Joey Carini, W143N9638 Amber Drive, right next to the Autumn Ridge, in this Autumn Ridge subdivision, next to the Sunstar development. I just had a couple of thoughts. I looked over the agenda and just a couple of hours of conversation with locals in the neighborhood. I'm around all the time. I've been in real estate 22 years. They know that. We discuss things back and forth. Nearly 100% resistance without total facts. I mean, I wish more of my fellow residents would have been here. I think they will if this goes forward. Some good things. I know it's evolving. The congestion inside the architectural layout looks a little congested. The snow thing is just one thing that's going to happen. The roundabout traffic flow, it gets busy there many hours of the day. So, I mean, you add, what do we say, 140 possible individuals. I mean, not all traveling by car, but combine it with X, Y, and Z. Just some things to consider. I'm sure you guys are all considering these things. Visitors, you know, overflow traffic again. That's kind of my theme here. Does this mean more development for more commercial amenities? It's it going to be, is this the beginning of more things popping up, like next to that area, next to the coffee shop that's right there? That's, a lot of neighbors are asking me about that as well. And the last thing is folks on the other side of 145. Was this going to be more or less like a do we vote sort of thing on this? Or is it going to be, I'm just kind of unfamiliar with the process considering the congestion of neighbors that are already there in multiple subdivisions. So a lot of curiosity, I guess my theme is. So.
Good. Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input or public appearance? Seeing there is no one else, we'll go to announcements. Does anyone have any announcements they'd like to make? The only thing I have to make is coming up quickly on Thursday, July 4th is the July 4th festivities for Germantown. A couple notes to make on that. This year, the parade is going to be a little bit later. Starting time for the parade will be at 4 p.m. And then starting at 5 p.m., there'll be festivities at the Fireman's Park, which would include food and drinks, music, and kids' activities at Fireman's Park. There'll be a band there also at the Gales Outdoor Performance Art Pavilion from 5 till 9 o'clock. And then at 9 o'clock, the fireworks would start. And once the fireworks are completed, then that would end all the festivities for the 4th of July. There are a lot of volunteer opportunities that are being requested. You can't have an event like this without a lot of people helping and supporting and volunteering their time to put that on. So within our website at the Village, there is an opportunity to sign up for any one of the slots in the many different areas where volunteers are needed. I would ask each and everyone that would like to volunteer or has time to volunteer to look at that website and slot a time that would work best for you within that time frame. That's all I have for announcements, unless anybody has anything else. We are adjourned. Thank you all for coming tonight, and thank you all for watching. Have a good night. God bless you.